Yo guys, what's up and welcome back to another guide on my channel. This time it's an archer guide, and yeah, before we actually go into this guide, I just want to say two things. This guide will only cover armor sets, weapons to use, pets, ultimate enchantments and reforges. No playstyles and such. Now I may still redo the floor 7 guide as promised, but not here. Not here. And secondly, if you want to support me, just subscribe to my channel. Like, it's free, and also don't forget to like this video. So yeah, let's hop right into it. Now, if you want to start out with Archer, don't do it, because the progression is not the greatest, to say the least. But yeah, if you actually want to get into the dungeons, just start off with Burst or Mage, because the progression is way clearer and easier. So yeah, Archer guide time, let's go. Now keep in mind this guide is not that Iron Man friendly, but we'll get to that. And the first armor set is which you're wearing right now, Shadow Assassin armor, which you need floor 5 comp for. It has decent damage boost and also health for the stage of the game, and will help you further on. And yeah, you will swap it later on anyways, but if you can't afford it, you know, like the chest plate, you can also swap out the chest plate for a zombie knight one, since it's far cheaper. Now, please get a good one, because all of the cheap options are kind of terrible. But I mean, you can do it if you can't afford it. It's a bargain. Now, the other option here is Necron armor, literally the armor set I am wearing right now, and it needs floor 7 comp. You will use it for the rest of your dungeon journey though, because of its high damage and, you know, like overall stats, health and defense and such, and it's also the thing that Burst uses. And yeah, it is basically fake Archer anyway, so yeah. I can highly recommend you to swap out the Necron helmet with a diamond or golden one, because it's just way better for dungeons, and the helmet is not really worth the price. Like, I'm literally wearing a diamond head right now. For the former, you know, the golden head, you need 100 comps of the specific floor you want to play, and for the diamond one you need 1000. You could just buy it from the auction house, but not right now, because as of now, it's soulbound. Also, I heavily recommend you to swap out the basic Necron boots with Maxo ones, as I have on right now, because the damage difference is minimal, and the speed is awesome for clear and such. And later on, you can also swap out your Necron chestplate with a Skeleton Master chestplate. Again, please get a good one. The one I have on right now is just one of those cheap ones I just randomly snatched off the auction house because of me having to rush this video and all, and I don't want to spend tons of coins. So yeah, I also rely on cutouts from the wiki and such. Now, if you don't want to use Necron, use Frozen Blaze armor, as you can see the set on screen, with a legendary Blaze pet. We are gonna get to pets, but as you can see, it has a catacomb level requirement of 20 if you dungeonize it, and overall combat requirement of 24. This combination can give you more EHP and damage than Necron, but it will padlock you, meaning you can't boost your damage any further with pets. Again, we're getting to that. And if you are an Iron Man player who really insists on starting on with Archer, as armor, use something like Rodden or Skeleton Grunt or Skeleton Soldier, but they suck. So just don't start with Archer, because the progression is not great. Secondly, weapons. Don't expect anything but bows here. But yeah, potential options here are the machine gun bow, which has a catacomb requirement of level 2, and the spirit shot bow, which needs floor 4 completion. They both do decent damage, but you won't do enough for the higher floors, because the former has too little base damage and the latter has a shot cooldown way too long between each shot to be good for DPS later on. They're okay for Iron Man though, so I'll give a pass there. So it is true, the only good options are the Juju bow, which needs Enderman Slayer level 5 and Catacombs level 15 if you dungeonize it, to deal great damage for floors 5 to 7, but it becomes out of date. And the other one is the Terminator. Yes, there's only 2 actually good bows to use, but yeah, the Terminator needs Enderman Slayer level 7 and Catacombs level 27 to use if you dungeonize it. However, you have to carry the burden that said Terminator, it cuts your crit chance in 4. Let me just put it that way. Now, the Terminator, surely it cuts your crit chance in 4. But it's basically a Juju short bow that shoots 3 arrows and has more attack speed, making it have far more DPS in its main weapon people use in floor 7 and master mode. But yeah, pets. There is a good amount of options here. We'll get to them step by step. Firstly, skeleton pet. It simply boosts your arrow and crit damage, and that's it. It's good when you're just getting into the class, but it's just outclassed by the second option, which is the Wither Skeleton. It gives a bit of everything, but also makes you take less damage from withers and such, and also makes you deal more damage to them. It also applies the wither to affect you to any mob you hit, and that happens every few hits, which boosts your DPS even further. An alternative there is the Tiger Pet. The only reason I recommend it though is the ferocity and damage boost. It's good, but it got nerfed, but it's still really fun and powerful to use. And the ferocity is just simply awesome. We'll get to why. If you can't survive though, just use a baby yeti, since it gives like 40% of his strength as defense, if that makes sense. You don't really lose damage, but you become tankier in return, so it's great if you can't survive that long. And finally, we got the Ender Dragon and Golden Dragon. The former overall boosts your stats with a superior perk, while the latter heavily increases your strength, DPS, and overall damage depending on the size of your bank account. They're both incredibly expensive though, so yeah, it's a bit of a grind overall, but this is late game anyway, so yeah. Now if you don't want to use Necron but Frozen Blaze, and you just want to save a buck, just use the already mentioned Blaze Pet, because it's simply the only reason why the Frozen Blaze armor is worth mentioning, because it heavily buffs it. It's even better than Necron unless you use an E-Drag or G-Drag with it, but yeah, only if you use the legendary version of the Blaze Pet. If you don't, it's kinda terrible. Get out of my fucking way, I'm recording, what the fuck? Yeah, like, really don't get it. Next up, we got Ultimate Enchantments. For your armor, you can either use Last Stand if your survivability is lacking, or Legion if you just want overall stat boosts in dungeons and such. For both, you can go for stage 5 if you have the money, but 3 also works if you're just broke like me. And for your bow, there's only like 3 options. However, I only recommend to use all of the other ones, apart from Soul Eater, on your Terminator, because a Juju with Duplex looks cursed. I wonder who has it. Jokes aside, the first one is, well, Soul Eater. It gives you damage from killed mobs and adds it onto your next hit. It's simple, but really effective for like single hit damage. It's not great for DPS though, since it's just your basic arrow damage without any gizmos added, apart from enchantments and such. But yeah. The second one is Duplex, which grants a second arrow, dealing a portion of your base arrow damage and also dealing fire damage for 60 seconds. And the final one is Fatal Tempo, which increases your ferocity with each hit. It caps at 200% though, but it's still insanely powerful and expensive. For all apart from Fatal Tempo, I recommend stage 3 to 5, but for Fatal Tempo it doesn't really justify the price at stage 5 that much, and there 3 is definitely enough. And I even know people who only use stage 1 because it's just that cracked. Lastly, Reforges. If you're starting out, just use Fierce on your armor and Rapid on your bow. If you get further, use Ancient on your armor, which needs mining 30 to apply, and Precise or Spiritual, I forgot what mining level it needs, on your bow. Hasty is an option, don't get me wrong, but only for your Terminator if you need crit chance. Now, before I end this guide off, for stuff like Floor 7, there is additional items needed, but I just wanted to cover the basics here, so don't freak out and go like, oh my god, you missed so much, your tutorial is absolute garbage and you should never upload ever again or touch YouTube. Like, jokes aside. That's it! It's not a lot to go over actually, but yeah, thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you around.